It's Dr. Stephanie with Coherent Health, back with another episode of Must Know from My Modality to Yours, where we talk with a health and wellness practitioner about the top things they think you should know for your practice. Today, I have Lynn Chigounis with me. She's a licensed Davis facilitator and founder of New Perspectives in Learning in Montclair, New Jersey. Lynn has been helping children and adults empower themselves to thrive for over 20 years. The programs that Lynn provides are unique, one-to-one, strength-based, multi-sensory approaches to address and support dyslexia, ADD, ADHD, and other related neurodivergent learning and life challenges. As a former classroom teacher, Lynn witnessed firsthand how traditional teaching methods often fail to serve bright, neurodivergent students, inspiring her to search for more effective approaches. This journey led her to the Davis method, where she discovered amazingly simple yet powerful tools and techniques that empower the individual's thinking and learning strengths, rather than trying to X out perceived deficits. Both children and adults can transform their learning and their lives with tools to focus attention and self-regulate energy levels to conquer academic challenges, as well as behavior issues in a creative way, without medication. Lynn is a passionate advocate for neurodiversity and has helped countless individuals unlock their unique potential, realize their gifts, and create meaningful change in their lives. Lynn, it is truly a pleasure to have you here with us today.
Hello. Hi, Stephanie. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And thank you. I know we have worked together outside of this, so I have particular experience with the Davis method, and I'm really looking forward to hearing from you so that everyone can know about it, more about who you work with and how you work with them as part of the Davis method.
Well, I work with children and adults, teenagers of all ages. We have a young learners program. You could start as early as 5 years old, but mostly I work with 7, 8, all the way up to the oldest client I have is around 65. Because dyslexia is not a learning disability. What I want everyone to know is that it's a learning difference. And difference is not bad. I need all my clients to know that they are bright, capable, brilliant learners. The problems arise when they are taught in ways and modalities that don't fit their learning style. So it doesn't, the methods are not compatible with the way they think and learn. Because the way we think is the way we learn best.
And right? So, and when you work with them, what are you doing with them? What is included in a session?
All right. So the first thing I want everyone to know is that there's nothing wrong with your brain. It just functions a little differently, and different is not bad. It actually has tremendous advantages, capabilities, gifts, and talents. So I want the person to feel like there's nothing wrong with them. All right, that's the first thing. The next thing I would tell them is that I try to get them to understand their thinking style. And the main ingredient there is that they are brilliant picture thinkers. And when I say picture thinkers, that kind of generalizes it. So it's common that people think in two different ways. It's either word thinking or picture thinking. And word thinking is like talking in your head. You have a voice in your head and it's telling you, I need to get groceries and I'm going to go for eggs and milk and butter and cheese and so forth. So there's a constant dialogue, internal dialogue in your head. That's what I call a word thinker. Now, those people do very well in school because they can think with the sounds of words. But dyslexics and people with ADHD and these right brain thinkers that come into the category of neurodivergent thinkers, they think more in pictures. They're more visual spatial processors. And I don't mean flat pictures. They are dynamic. They are three-dimensional. They are so imaginative and creative that they just like blow off the charts with their creativity and imagination. So I get to tell them that and tell them that I have a way to help you learn that fits your thinking style, that you can use all your talents and all your strengths, and you don't have to learn the way everybody else learns, or you don't have to, especially reading, because reading is a very left brain task. It's taught with the sounds of words and it's called phonics. And it's a very good method for most of the population. And people are very successful learning a little phonics and then transitioning to reading. But the people who have difficulty with it, I know that most likely at the time they start to learn to read, they don't have an internal dialogue in their head. They're primarily picture thinkers. So they can't hear those sounds, they can't process those sounds, and they get frustrated, they get confused, and emotions are a huge part of the dyslexic dilemma because they start to learn coping mechanisms and ways to disguise the fact that they're not doing what everyone else is doing. So to tell them that they're brilliant, to give them tools to learn in their learning style and hands-on techniques that actually solve the problem is why I just love this program. And that's what the Davis method does. It gives the individual empowerment tools because there's nothing wrong with picture thinking, but there's another ingredient that causes the dyslexic problem. So when someone gets confused enough with something that they're looking at, and it's typically words or letters on a page, but that's what dyslexia means, trouble with words. Because with real-world objects, there's no problem. So you have your very bright kids coming into school all enthusiastic about learning. They're curious. You're like, my child is amazing. They're going to do so well. Because they've been picture thinking as a young child. And I think most of us do that. And taking in the world and looking at it from many angles. They're probably good at building and making things or artistic. They have amazing talents. But learning to read just makes them feel like they can't do it. So the Davis method addresses their thinking style. You give them tools to focus and kind of control or turn down their energy levels, because when they get confused, they get very frustrated and what I call their dial gets turned up, and that can cause more mistakes. So it's really knowing what's happening under the surface to address the issues that people see on the surface, because it's not just about the mistakes you make, it's about how it's happening. So really showing them how it happens and how to address it and correct it. That makes sense.
That it's such a natural approach, and that it takes into account that there's not just one way to be, there's not just one way to perceive, there's not just one way to learn, which a lot of schools and the rest of society may be built around. And I know it wasn't till I met you, actually, I've known for my adult life that I'm a visual thinker, but you really honed it when you were telling me and giving me examples about, for example, how tree, for a visual thinker, you see a tree, you get the tree, you can turn the tree around, but a word like a, where's the picture there? And then looking back, I was able to see kind of academic jujitsu that I needed to do in order to fit in as a visual thinker in kind of a word thinker's world. And we tend to see things as one or the other, but I love this approach because you're saying there's nothing wrong here. It's just another way of perceiving, and here to work with it in a way that's conducive for you.
Absolutely. Right. And it really honors your thinking style and makes you feel so much better about yourself, right? So the other element that is involved in the program, and also that I want someone to understand about themselves, is not only are they wonderful picture thinkers, they have used what an ability I call the perceptual talent that they have to kind of alter their perception and see things from different angles, and also to kind of take themselves out of themselves almost into their imagination, like Albert Einstein did when he was riding through the universe on his bike next to a beam of light. He was actually disoriented so much into that thought that he was kind of disconnected from the world around him. If someone was talking to him or spoke to him, he wouldn't hear them. So that's also part of the ADHD part of it, that you can disorient into a thought because it's so interesting and exciting and dynamic that it's a form of entertainment or problem solving or creativity. So he came up with his ideas in a daydream. So when these kids come to me and I tell them daydreaming is good, it's a good thing. That's where you come up with your ideas. But now you want to learn a little technique to come out of that quickly so you can come in and out when you need to and be present. Because the orientation tools that I teach everyone get them into the present moment and shift out of your imagination into what's happening in front of you. And that's so fundamental for learning. They don't even realize that's happening when they're confused with what they see on a page, like say that word the or a that doesn't give them a picture to think with. They get disoriented and then they start making all the mistakes. So you want to catch them at all those places before it happens. You want to give them tools to be focused and oriented, and then solve the problem with those little words. And we do that with a hands-on method using plasticine clay. And here's where their creativity comes in. And they just love it because they're engaged. They're not passively sitting back listening to me. They are engaged. So they will create a three-dimensional model that represents the meaning of those little words that they can't get pictures for. Because there's over 200 words in the English language. They call them sight words that do not give picture thinkers a picture to think with. The, a, is, was, where, who, how, where, all those things. So they don't give word thinkers trouble, even though they may not be able to picture the meaning, but they do for picture thinkers. And I know that. I see it every time I ask someone to read. And we'll point it out and say, look, there's all those little tricky words. I call them trigger words. They trigger your confusion. They cause mistakes. And then you get frustrated. Then the emotions build in. So we want to unravel that, get to the root of the problem, and solve it from the inside out. And these tools are just, they feel so good. They're empowered. They're like, oh, I can go off into my imagination. Nobody's shutting it off for me, but I can come back when I want.
Yeah, the tools they're simple, they're effective, they're natural, they're organic, and it all fits into this picture of health. I really appreciate what you've been saying around how it's not just about teaching to the individual, but in teaching to the individual, you prevent confusion, you prevent, low self-esteem and lack of confidence and all of these connected effects that no one necessarily thinks about otherwise. Can you talk or tell us for a moment about how you see dyslexia and your work as part of the holistic health picture?
Yes, absolutely. Because as working with some of the older clients and even some of the younger ones, the emotional trauma that they go through is huge. Sitting in class, not being able to do what other children do, it could be embarrassing and well-meaning teachers. And I was a teacher, so before I knew this, I tried my best. But if you don't know this, you may be saying the wrong thing, like, oh, just try a little harder, study harder, do that again. And when you're confused and disoriented, and disorientation can make you feel dizzy, all the symptoms of dyslexia, you can get headaches. You don't want to do that again. You don't want to be put, but you do it because that's what the teacher said. Older children, adults, anxiety, frustration, especially in the realm of ADHD, because stems from a similar thinking style, but the symptoms are different. So some that can coexist with dyslexia. Someone can have both conditions. Dyslexia is mainly the reading aspect of it, but getting disoriented and having an overwhelm of thoughts and not being able to manage your time and get tasks done is part of the ADHD symptoms. And that is disorientation is responsible for that as well. So you have a picture thinker who disorients, maybe not on words, but for entertainment. They're this person who, as a young child, is just in their imagination, and it's wonderful, but they don't learn lessons that the physical world teaches us. Being present in the physical world, we learn cause and effect and consequence. We learn about time. We get an inner sense of the passing of time, but there's no time in your imagination. There's no cause and effect. There's no sequence. Everything just happens, which is a lovely place to be, but you may miss out on some of the lessons in life. So we find in the Davis method that if you're looking to solve the problems with ADHD, it's more concepts that you master in clay. You get the tools, you get the focusing tools, the dial, which brings down your energy level, because your energy level can be like soaring really high when you're in overdrive and you're really sitting still. That's a feeling of anxiety. So you want to match your mind and your body. You want your mind to be comfortable in the body, and that's what the dial actually does. And then getting oriented and focused is a huge part of ADHD. I mean, kids say, I just can't I can't sit still or get focused. Some people, there's definitely a range of different conditions within this. Everyone's a little different, but those are the top ones. And time is a big thing for people with no sense of time, because they don't get to experience time consistently when you're in your daydreaming a lot or when you're disoriented, because there's no time there. So that's a real factor, and that causes a lot of anxiety. not being on time, not knowing how to manage your day. How much time is it going to take me to get this project done? It's overwhelming sometimes. So all the tools that I teach in the Davis method address those issues.
I think even without neurodivergence, time can be overwhelming.
It is. Well, in today's society, we all have to get things done. And a lot of the screen time and the scrolling, I think that adds to our what's next. It's not causing it, but it's adding to it, I think.
Yeah. There's a cumulative effect of a lot of different things we could be doing better, which I always say, in our society. And I'd love to hear from you there, because there's so much you've told us and so much we can unpack, but just the top thing you would like practitioners from other modalities to know on behalf of their clients.
Well, number one, that 20% of the population probably most likely have this thinking style. So you've got a lot of people that are undiagnosed, don't know, because there's different degrees to it. Maybe someone said, no, I didn't struggle that much in school. Maybe they just worked really hard and they didn't know they had to work that hard. I mean, there's different degrees to it. So the one thing I want people to know is that more people are dyslexic and ADHD than you may realize. And look at it from a thinking style, from the positive aspect. It's definitely two sides to a coin, because I'm not denying the struggles. There's definitely struggles. But you have to see them joined and together. They're not separate. It's not like, oh, I have this gifted thinking style over here and I have these problems over here. You have to address them together. And that's what the Davis method does internally. Understand your thinking style. So the top thing I want people to know is nothing wrong with your brain. You just need to learn some techniques to manage it better and be empowered by the gifts and talents that you do have.
I think that's great. We've done a lot of labeling in our society.
Yeah.
And so
we try to put people in categories, and for diagnosis purposes, I'm sure it's convenient. And I'm not putting down schools, but they need to look at it as a disability. Okay, you're not learning the way I'm teaching or the method that's accepted. So in order to get help, you need to be identified in some way. And that's the label they give it. I just don't like it. I don't agree with it, but I can treat it in a different way.
There doesn't have to be a stigma attached.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
It can just be information on how a person is versus.
And we are all so different and diverse and unique. And we need these thinkers to feel confident in themselves, to contribute to society, to do what they love to do, to be passionate, because it can hold you back when you have this huge, some people describe it as carrying a huge boulder on their shoulder. Some of the adults are just so beaten down by just not being able to do emails and write reports and different things in work that involve word thinking and word processing. And spell check doesn't always give you the right answer.
No, it does not. Autocorrect, definitely not. Mm-hmm. But thank you for this. Thank you for the work that you do and for sharing it with everyone who's watching. And for folks who are interested in learning more about Lynn and the Davis method, please check out her information in the bio. And we'll be back with another episode of Must Know, from my modality to yours. Thank you, Lynn.
Thank you, Stephanie.